pretty much tapped out on power. I'm reserving just the last little bit. I am so exhausted. Like, it's getting hard to keep my eyes open.
I'm literally being held captive against my will on this boat.
I'm Preston, sailing my 1988 Catalina 36 around the Pacific Northwest with my stupid cat. I have 3 teenagers and a few years left until freedom hits me like a rock in the face. Join me and my shenanigans as I learn the ropes and make plenty of mistakes, gearing up for the day I can sell all my crap and sail off into the sunset. We're on our way to Spencer Spit. We just left Roche Harbor after a few nights there. Gonna spend a couple nights at Spencer Spit, unless I change my mind last minute. We'll see how it looks. It's usually pretty packed with boats, and there's a gigantic campsite there, and sometimes it smells like a whole lot of people's poo. We'll see what it's like when we get there. It's gonna be a motoring day, it looks like. Not really any wind. I always think this is cool because this pass is so small when the ferry comes through at the same time. If I'm correct, one blast means it's gonna pass on my port side, which is duh. Kidding me just says that's awesome still. So we're leaving Spencer Spit, heading for Deception Pass. Right, Olive? We've been sitting here waiting out the fog that I can see around the corner. It looks like it's dissipating. I'm not gonna know for sure if we can go that way until we get around the corner.
This is literally my 100th time doing this because I look like a Nimrod. I'm doing this because I'm getting paid. Otherwise I would not do this. Yeah, I want more Nirvana shirts, which also, literally, my dad is a Nirvana hater. But I'm not even joking, this was my last time. If I look disgusting, I don't care anymore, okay? I don't. I just want my money. His music taste is like, you think it would be good, but then he plays me country music like, you can buy me a boat, and I was like, ooh. It literally goes like, you can buy me a boat. When you listen to that, like, what are you feeling? Just like, gosh, it sucks. The only time I ever have like fun is like walking around those small little towns. Like, you walk around it once and it's like, okay. Most of the stores are just like grandma shops and just like, bleh, you know? And none of these bookstores had Kurt Cobain's journal or anything. I was like, excuse me, that's what I want to read. You should have it. He says this is his happy place, but it's literally not. Like, he's grumpy all the time on it. Like, he'll be happy, and then 2 seconds later, he'll be just grumpy again, you know? Like, there was some, like, no forks on time or something, and he goes, it'd be nice if I had some children who would do the dishes. Like, just ask. Just ask. God dang. Like, I tried to do the dishes one time, and he goes, no, you'll use too much water. And I was like, then he watches this stupid dumb racing, which is, like, super annoying. I'm literally being held captive against my will on this boat. I deserve the $100, you know?
It's been pretty painful working here. There's only 2 bars of service, which is extremely painful internet-wise. So it looks perfectly clear to me from here. Now it's just getting there before 3 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock now. 3 o'clock is when the tide goes against us and the current starts ripping against us. The current's gonna get up to like 6 knots going against us, so we gotta get there by 3. I always get nervous going through these very small cuts. They're shallow. There's a lot of current. And it's going against me right now, but even current going with you, you can get into a tricky situation when you don't have hardly any room to turn around. We can't go through the wide middle cut because it's too shallow. We gotta go through the skinnier one to the left. This is one of those examples of when you should always have a backup exit strategy because we are barely moving through this current, which means it's going 4 or 5 knots against us. We're being pushed backward toward those rocks. So you plan ahead. I could always turn to starboard, go straight across the current, and then at the right time, turn even more starboard and just ride the current back out to safety. I think we'll make it through, but we are just not moving very much at all. I had to give up on the dream of going under the Deception Pass Bridge. Doing the math against all this current, we're only going 3 to 4 knots, closer to 4. Take us 2 hours to go 9 miles. And by that time, the current's gonna be going against us at about 4 knots. Very dangerous going through there like that. So we're gonna go the long way around Anacortes through the slough. High tide is at 6, so the current should be going with us to the slough as the tide goes up. We're approaching the Lacana Slough, about to hit the first marker. The last time I did this in a sailboat, I had no gauges. This time I have a depth sounder. I'm a little worried about knowing how shallow it is. The sun is hot. It sucks. I assumed the current would be going with us until 6 o'clock when that hits high tide. No, it's 4 o'clock and the tide and the current has turned against us. So we are barely crawling. I hope it doesn't get too strong in here because we're barely making 3 knots now and we have at least 2 more hours till we get to the other end of it. If it picks up a lot more, man, it's gonna be brutal. We're about halfway out and we're still moving, barely. Just about made it to the town of Lacana. Super cute town. Dockside restaurants. It's a pretty neat atmosphere right along the slough. It's really getting rivery. Really starting to have my doubts that we're gonna make it all the way through here. This is where you start really wondering if you're gonna make it or not, man. I'm pretty much tapped out on power. I'm reserving just the last little bit. The engine always likes to smoke up if I push it anymore, so I'm keeping that to the end. But man, these current turns, it is roaring through here. We're going about 1.5 knots. This is the last turn, and if we can't make it out of this last stretch, which is about maybe a mile, that's gonna really suck to have to turn around all this time wasted. We've got about half a mile left. I think we're good. The current out here seems to have subsided slightly. So I was able to turn the engine down, which makes me feel better now it's not smoking all over the place. So I think we're gonna be good, but man, that's nerve-wracking, man. So we made it out of the slough. Man, that was close. I really didn't think we were gonna make it through those last couple turns. It was really strong. It was like pushing 5 knots against us. I had the motor way up, which I don't really love doing. Anyway, we're out. Glad for that. It's blowing 15 to 20 knots out here. Would be great downwind sailing, and I thought about doing it, but looking at the forecast today, I knew we weren't going to be sailing. It was dead calm, so I didn't prep the boat for sailing at all. It's just not ready, and I'm really tired. I mean, it took us like 3 hours to get through the slough. All hands steering, because you can't really use autopilot in there. It's too tight quarters. And with the current ripping around, you're always adjusting. So my brain is just tired. I'm tired of standing. I mean, the sad part of that smart decision is this trip really hasn't had very much sailing. So it would have been nice to get some in. And right now it's excellent conditions for downwind. I wouldn't want to go upwind in 15 to 20 knots, but downwind, oh, it's great. These next couple levels are going to be very motory. I'm glad I didn't go through the effort while I was super exhausted and tired of getting a sail going, because 5 miles later there's just no wind again, so it really would have been kind of a waste. I think instead of going to Coupeville, we'll go to Roche Harbor, because it's supposed to tonight and Friday night get really windy. Friday night looks like 29 knots. Insane. It's no really more protected than Coupeville, but Coupeville is a deep anchorage. and Oak Harbor is like 12 feet. So I can put out way more scope and I'll be way more comfortable in there if it does in fact get up to 29 knots. I am so exhausted. Like, it's getting hard to keep my eyes open. I mean, I wasn't up super early. I was up at like 7:30 or 8 for work. We started going at 12, but the whole time has been mentally exhausting. Fighting your way through current, it felt like the entire day fighting against a lot of current. It's just mentally draining. And we've still got about an hour till we get there. It's almost 8 o'clock now. It feels like a much longer motor than, 8 hours. Olive's being cool. She's doing the dishes for me, so when we get there I can just start cooking and have nothing else to worry about. Tristan was cool. He emptied out the cat box entirely, filled it back up so it doesn't stink anymore. Just all these things so I don't have to do it when we get there. I can just start cooking. I'll cook us something really yummy, hunker down and just get cozy and hope the wind doesn't really pick up to 20 to 30 knots tonight like it says it's going to. Ugh. It's a beautiful evening, but it is getting damn difficult to see through the minefield of crab pots. A little worried we're not going to get to the long entrance to Oak Harbor with enough light to see them, and it's just that whole area is just peppered with crab pots normally. So I've decided it's just too dangerous to go into Oak Harbor at night. We're not going to make it. Too many crab pots. So we're going to ditch in here where it looks like 2 other sailboats are anchored. What? I see it. Kaya's watching for pots on the port side. Olive's at the bow watching. They're everywhere. This was a good plan to ditch into here at the last minute. So far it's not terribly windy. It's only like 10 or 12 knots in here. There's not a ton of protection, but so it may still pick up. But I'm gonna finish out this evening with a scotch before I start cooking dinner. And even though it's out of sequence, I'm gonna leave you with the sunset because it's beautiful, and that's how I want this one to go out.